Can Microsoft really go back to exclusivity? That's the question that people are asking right now online after a series of statements were released by Asha Sharma, who's now leading the way over at Microsoft for Xbox. And in what was like a page or like really just kind of a memo that was sent out to the company, message, and then was also shared to everyone else over on the news.xbox.com website, detailing all kinds of things they're looking at, which does include their exclusive strategy, which really is like zero right now. I mean, we know that Satya Nadella really didn't understand the idea of exclusivity when it comes to consoles, but we do see what happens with Sony and obviously Nintendo, where they use exclusives to drive their console sales. Well, we're going to take a look at this message that was sent out by Asha Sharma and Matt Booty to Team Xbox and what they have planned, I guess, going forward. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So we can head over here. This is over on that news.xbox.com website. We are Xbox. They even say here the message was just sent to Team Xbox employees globally. I guess they figured it'll probably make the rounds anyway. Like it's just going out to everyone. So it's like, yeah, we might as well just go ahead and publish it on our website so that the public can see it. I wanted to scroll down here, though, right under we have work to do. Just saying players are frustrated. New feature drops on console have been less frequent. Our presence on PC isn't strong enough. Pricing is getting harder for people to keep up with. And core experiences like search, discovery, social, and personalization still feel too fragmented. Developers and publishers are asking for more, to better tools, better insights, and a platform that helps them grow faster, which I figured was going to be the idea of their Xbox Play Anywhere initiative, where you would just make one build of the game and it would work across multiple platforms for Windows, for Xbox, or just console. And they've kind of obviously they're floating the idea, or at least exploring the idea of mobile phones with a mobile marketplace for Xbox. Apparently that's not like completely discontinued or shelved. They're still playing around with that idea. It's just that it needs more work to figure that one out. Anyway, further down here, they do go over bullet points for each section. So they have hardware, content, experience, and services. And this is where things got kind of interesting here because these are their 4 priorities. And by the way, hardware is first. That's the first thing they talk about here. And this is quite interesting because like when we would draw up that, I think at the beginning of the Xbox Series generation, that chart, and it was like the center is Game Pass. Everything is around Game Pass, trying to push this service. And when we had those documents get out from the trials that were going on as they were trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, it became obvious why, because they were looking for 100 some odd million subscribers, by what, 2028 or 2030. So they're probably not going to get there at this rate. However, the console was not the center, right? It was off to the side. It kind of feels like, again, just the way that they're talking right now, we still have to see the execution, kind of talking like they're going to bring the console to the center and everything will work around that. Anyway, you can see under hardware, stabilize Gen 9 as a healthy and high quality base. So we can just stop right there. Gen 9 is what we're in right now. Like if you look around and go, oh yeah, okay, so Gen 9 is the Xbox Series X and S. But it kind of seems like, at least the way that Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer were talking about, they were kind of ready to move on to like the next generation. They were already talking about that like a couple of years out from when we believe to be a 2027 holiday launch. And it's just like, oh, the Xbox Series, I mean, you can still buy them. They're out there. They're 600 some odd dollars right now, but you can still buy them. This kind of sounds like they're refocusing on the Xbox Series S and X, and the sales have just not been good for those systems at all. So they certainly have a lot of work to do to kind of reformat that image a bit. And that would start with, I figure, price point. I do wonder if they have an idea of maybe doing another revision for the Xbox Series systems, maybe one that would work to knock down the price on it, like an Xbox Series X Slim or S Slim or something. I'm sure they could do that. I'm curious if they will, because right now for Microsoft, more than anything, for Xbox, and I mean, if you look around, you can say PlayStation and Nintendo as well, the price at this time in history feels like the biggest barrier of entry that we've seen. I mean, we talk about the PS5 Pro at $900, but it's unnecessary technically. So if you go down to the base, we'll say 4K systems, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, you're still starting at like 600 or $650. That is quite expensive. So they gotta figure that one out. Deliver Project Helix to lead in performance and player console and PC games, lead in comfort, personal, high performance accessories, and build a strong ecosystem that expands choice and reach. You also wonder with Gen 9, as Helix is mentioned right there below that, I just wonder if Gen 9 could get the same treatment, similar treatment to Helix, where it also gets its own version of Windows and it could also load other storefronts. Like, can the OS go across both of them? I don't know. Something to think about there as we go into next generation. Again, seems like they're already rolling along. They got the Helix shirts out there. They're putting the logos around. They're moving. They're moving on Helix. Okay. Content is grow and extend an enduring portfolio of franchises players love, evolve our third-party partnerships, strengthen our 5-year slate, expand into China, emerging markets and mobile-first audiences. And China is a big market. We see it occasionally when a game comes out and really latches on there, like Slay the Spire 2 went crazy in China recently. Obviously, Black Myth Wukong was a massive one. But when it comes to mobile first audiences, it just feels like there's an infinite money supply when it comes to the mobile audience because it's so large. Like, basically everyone for the most part has a phone of some kind that probably can play some of these different games like Candy Crush or what have you. And when they bought Activision Blizzard, obviously got King. So they that is certainly a market that they, I'm sure, would like to grow further in. I don't know how interesting it is to many of you watching this, but you kind of understand there is money there to be had. Maintain and grow in live games and long-term stewardship, and elevate creator-centric platforms like Minecraft, The Elder Scrolls, and Sea of Thieves. Okay. Experiences fix the fundamentals for players and partners, make Xbox the best place for developers and creators to build and grow. Overhaul discovery, customization, social, and personalization to connect the community. What do they bring back Mixer? Bring that back and like tie it in. I don't know. I didn't really get too into Mixer or anything, but hey, to me, it's like the more streaming or video platforms you can put out there for competition, the better. But the idea of customization and stuff, we've kind of called for that with the OS or the dashboard for the Xbox. And they've played around with that here and there. And it is always fun when they're like, hey, here's this new live wallpaper for the anniversary of Xbox. And then finally we get to services. Fortify Game Pass with clear differentiation and sustainable economics. Return the business to durable growth with strong cost discipline. Make cloud play feel native, fast, and reliable across TVs and low-cost devices. Use M&A deliberately to accelerate growth where organic paths are too slow. They're going to do more acquisitions, sure. But they do say here, along the way, we will reevaluate our approach to exclusivity, windowing, and AI, and share more as we learn and decide. Exclusivity is a big one, all right? It comes up and people go, hold on a minute, can Microsoft actually do that? Can they go back to exclusive games for their platform? Which, remember, their platform, according to everything we've heard, the idea being Windows across the board for Helix and on PC. And we're kind of seeing this Xbox mode that's being tested right now on the Windows PC side. So if that's the case, I assume then it would be exclusives for that, for like Windows PC and Helix. I'm curious about Steam. That is one that comes up because I know people think of PlayStation. I do think Microsoft is becoming more and more aware as to what Valve has been able to accomplish with Steam OS, which also ties into Linux. And it's not like, oh wow, they're pulling a majority of the for operating systems or something of people using it, but it is slowly percentage points eating into what Windows has had just a stranglehold on the marketplace. So I do wonder if that's something they consider, the idea of Steam becoming more of a competitor despite it working and being the go-to on their own operating system, which that has to sting, right? So you have a marketplace already on your operating system with games that you make and a subscription service that you believe is actually a good deal, we'll say, with Game Pass, and people still choose to go out, download Steam, install it, and then just buy games there that you have to give up 30% cuts for, even though it's technically still playing on Windows. So I'm sure that annoys Microsoft. It has to annoy Microsoft like crazy. The idea of exclusivity, though, we know that it's like tried and true. How do you get people to your platform? How do you get people to your system? You make games they want to play, and then that brings them there. That's just how it's always worked, and it's worked well for, Nintendo, and look at how many systems they sell. Sony has gotten to the point where they're kind of the default system at this point, but they were also looking at it with exclusives like, hey, we make first party games. It's going to bring people to our platform, our PlayStation system. And yes, they were playing around with the idea of PC. Yet reports say that they're backing away from that. We'll see in a matter of the next year or two if all of a sudden Ghost of Yote pops up on PC, or I guess here with Saros. If it doesn't, okay, then I guess they're also backing away from that and focusing on their console. What Microsoft needs to realize, if they want to sell Game Pass, the best person to sell Game Pass to, that is the most likely to buy it, is the person who owns an Xbox or the person who owns this Project Helix. So if you want to grow Game Pass, you kind of have to grow your console base. And I just don't know if having a great console experience, we'll say, is going to be enough to get you to, say, 70 million consoles, 100 million consoles sold. I just don't know if that's enough. It's like you need that little extra. And yeah, that little extra are games that show off that hardware and you can only really access there, which then does bring into question the stuff we're hearing about Helix, where that's going to be more than $1,000 for the system. Well, when I look at them discuss cloud play here, feeling native, fast, reliable across TVs and low cost devices, I wonder if the strategy right now is to come up with a little while ago, they had Keystone. That was the idea, a streaming box that you'd be able to play your Xbox games through, subscribe to Game Pass, do all that stuff, right? I almost wonder if that's coming back in some format, all right? As in, like, yeah, a little box you can buy. It comes with a controller. That's still another barrier of entry. You have to have a controller to play these games. So even if you have a TV that supports the Xbox app to stream with, you still got to find a controller to sync up to it. And if you're someone who really doesn't play a lot of games at all, and this is kind of your entry point, well, you got to go out and get an Xbox controller or PlayStation or whatever else they support there for this service. So that is something to consider there, where if they can make like a little box, little console that just streams and it comes with a controller and it's like $100 or something, 99.99. That does then fall in line with, oh, that is kind of that impulse buy territory. Yes, I'm streaming the games, but xCloud has gotten, so much better now. I don't know if it's on GeForce Now territory yet, but you feel like with technology, a big company like Microsoft to push, eventually it could. And if it did get to that position, then it would start to feel closer and closer just being a native experience for the mainstream. I understand myself, probably many of you watching, would rather have just the full-on native experience, and we would pay for that, whether it's a nice PC or Helix or whatever other system. But I do think there is a large number of people out there who would fall into the good enough category, who have high-speed internet, who just want to be able to jump in for like $100 to $150, just ready to go, set it up, plug it in, and you could just start playing these different Game Pass titles. So I kind of think that's the strategy. We hear about Helix. Xbox Series X and S are out there. Maybe the Windows OS that they're creating also works there. But then this box that would also stream games with a controller that's like the low barrier of entry, that might be the move here. And hey, you pair that with exclusives that are within reason. And I say within reason because they're probably not going to do something like Forza Horizon as an exclusive, because it casts a wide net and it sells well on something like PlayStation. But maybe there are smaller titles that they feel like they can use that still have notoriety that would be able to bring people to that platform, right? Or maybe they play around with just timed exclusivity. After a year, you know what? It will go to other platforms. But if you want to play day one, right then and there, you got to get an Xbox, a Helix, a nice PC with Windows. Also, with the discussion of exclusivity right now, Microsoft does say that their new North Star will be daily active players, which that's kind of contradictory to the idea of exclusive games, because daily active players, trying to grow that would mean that you are looking for the most amount of people possible, which does mean that you would look to put your games everywhere you can. And when I hear daily active players versus something like monthly active users or monthly active players, daily active tends to be more for like social media, where there is constant minute to minute interaction. and people are cycling through some of these different social media applications like every few seconds, it feels like. So it's interesting using that phrase, daily active players, as opposed to monthly active players, which I feel like is kind of the metric that we've heard up to this point from, well, at this time, all three major companies, but certainly Microsoft with Xbox in mind. I'm so interested to see how they are going to view Steam going into next generation, because I think that Valve has really grown into this competitor status for them, which is so awkward since Steam heavily relies on Windows. And I don't know how excited Microsoft is still with Steam continuing to take the 30% cut, but I guess that's something we'll have to keep an eye on as we go into next generation with Helix, and to see how Asha Sharma continues to steer the ship. At least for now, I will give her credit. She is at least taking some action with Game Pass dropping down in price. I'm curious to see, though, how they approach next generation with all the discussion around pricing. But let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Do you think this is just still more PR speak, or do you think Asha Sharma really has like the plan and the drive to turn Xbox around? Be quite interesting to see. Let me know, guys, down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.